Hi friends, hope you had a great week. So today we're going to pick up where we left off and cover the rest of the major scales. If you wrote all the scales out last week for homework, you can check them out today to see if you did them correctly. We're also going to cover enharmonic scales, scale degrees, scale degree characteristics, and the terms root, keynote, tonic, supertonic, mediant, subdominant, dominant, submediant, leading tone, and subtonic. And I'm really excited to share this episode's featured artist, Medicine Dream. What an honor. I've been a fan of this band for 10 years. So let's get to it. In order to play these scales with the correct fingerings, we need to revisit the fingering key for both hands on the piano with each finger's number listed above it. Here it is. The following section contains all the major scales. The correct fingerings are shown directly above the staff. Like here, we've got right hand fingerings and left hand fingerings. Practice and become fluent with these scales, even if you play them on another instrument. In the next section, we will build on this information. Here are the major scales not requiring flats and sharps. There is only one, the C major scale. These are the major scales containing flats, starting with F, which has one flat. Here's the B flat major scale, which contains two flats. The E flat major scale contains three flats. The A flat major scale contains four flats. The D flat major scale contains five flats. The G flat major scale contains six flats. And finally, the C flat major scale contains seven flats. These are the major scales that contain sharps, starting with the G major scale, which has one sharp. The D major scale has two sharps. The A major scale has three sharps. The E major scale has four sharps. The B major scale has five sharps. The F sharp major scale has six sharps. And finally, the C sharp major scale has seven sharps. Notice that the D flat and C sharp, G flat and F sharp, and C flat and B major scales sound exactly the same and are played with the same keys but are written differently. These are called enharmonic scales. The D flat major scale, for example, is enharmonically the same scale as the C sharp major scale. Incidentally, if you'd like a printable version of all these major scales with the correct fingerings, please let me know in the comments section below. If it seems there's enough interest, I'll definitely do it for you. Please note that the fingerings for these scales are for one octave only, and that the fingerings can change, particularly for the highest notes of the scale, for some of these if they're extended up 2 octaves. Scale degrees are simply a number assigned to each note in a scale in ascending order going up the scale. The first note is called the first scale degree, also known as the root, the lowest note of a scale. The second note ascending is called the second scale degree, and so forth on up until the 8th scale degree, also sometimes referred to as the octave. You can find a particular scale degree of any given 8-note scale by counting the root and ascending in a line space, or space line fashion to the desired scale degree. For example, to find the 6th scale degree of the C major scale here, count up from the root. First, C is on the ledger line. Second, D is on the next ascending adjacent space. Third, E is on the next ascending adjacent line. Fourth, F is on the next ascending adjacent space. Fifth, G is on the next ascending adjacent line. Sixth, A is on the next ascending adjacent space. Although much less commonly used, the traditional classical names for each of the scale degrees is listed here. The first degree is known as the tonic, the second degree is known as the supertonic, the third degree is known as the mediant, the fourth degree is known as the subdominant, the fifth degree is known as the dominant, the sixth degree is known as the submediant, the seventh degree is known as the leading tone, and the eighth degree is again known as the tonic. Additionally, they are also sometimes referred to with Roman numerals. So, for example, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again you're back at 1. So now let's review the characteristics as well as all the different names and interchangeable ways you can refer to each of the scale degrees. As I said earlier, the tonic is the first scale degree. It behaves as the point of greatest resolution, magnetism, stability, or rest, and is also known as the root of the scale. All other notes of the scale are seemingly less stable than the tonic, so it comes as no surprise that many melodies end with the tonic as the last note. The first scale degree can also be referred to with the Roman numeral 1 and is additionally sometimes referred to as the keynote. The supertonic is the second scale degree and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 2. The mediant is the third scale degree, is more or less midway between the tonic and the dominant, hence the term mediant, and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 3. The subdominant is the fourth scale degree and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 4. The dominant is the fifth scale degree. Its function is second in importance to the first scale degree and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 5. The submediant is the sixth scale degree. It's more or less midway between the subdominant and the tonic, hence the term submediant, and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 6. And finally, the leading tone is the seventh scale degree and is sometimes notated with the Roman numeral 7. I should mention that in classical theory terminology, the term leading tone is only used when the leading tone, or seventh scale degree, is a half step away from the octave, like the B to the octave C in the C major scale here. The reason for this name is because of the supposed tendency of that seventh scale degree to want to strongly resolve to the octave. The implication is that the seventh scale degree, or leading tone, has a sort of gravity, or magnetic pole, if you will, that tends to want to resolve to the octave. For example, if we play the C major scale and then stop on B, like this, it may feel unfinished or incomplete unless we resolve it to the octave. At this point, I should mention that future scales we'll discuss have a whole step from the seventh scale degree to the octave. For example, from B flat to C. In classical terminology, This seventh scale degree that is a whole step from the octave is not referred to as a leading tone, but rather as a subtonic. Since this classical terminology is rarely used outside of academia, and to prevent unnecessary confusion with all of these different terms, the only terms we will use for scale degrees from this point forward will be numbers with the additional terms of root and octave. However, we will use Roman numerals again once we get to diatonic chord progressions. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like and leave a comment below if you have any questions. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you like the music you've been listening to in this episode, hey, so do I. This is music from the 2007 Native American Music Award-winning band Medicine Dream, headed by my friend Paul Pike. If you'd like to pick up a copy of Temigan Gospel, you can do it at this link. I think I'll just let this play.
All my relations at home and away. You gave me this dream, you showed me what's real, and I've taken this challenge. I've just got